Block Island is unique among the major islands off southern New England in that 47% of the land is preserved open space. Numerous well-marked trails lead through a variety of coastal and upland habitat and provide the visitor with glimpses of many bird species. To learn more about the island's natural history, I met up with Kim Gaffett of the Nature Conservancy, who led me on a short walk through the Fresh Pond Preserve, which is part of the larger Block Island Greenway Trail system.
The Nature Conservancy's basic mission is to preserve all the lands and waters that preserve life, and that's throughout the world. On Block Island we have a very strong extra component of public education, which is where I step in. I do a lot of nature walks and things like that. But if we aren't preserving our waters and our lands to grow food and to have all what they call the ecological services of nature, to control erosion and provide habitat for the whole matrix of biodiversity of animals and critters and grasses and insects, then we don't have a very stable world. So the island was formed by a glacial deposit, and the glacier advanced to about southern New England, southern Rhode Island, parts of Long Island, Cape Cod, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, all of those areas. And then it started to retreat, which
About what time?
About 20,000 years ago. As it retreated, in other words, started to melt, everything that was bound up in that ice just fell out and stayed where it was. Early settlers, they cleared the island, completely deforested it. They had needed to clear the fields for farming, and they needed the wood for house building, boat building, and fuel. So from that point till about 1950, it was all open rolling farm field. And they would, as they cleared the field, all these erratic boulders, they had to do something with them because they didn't compete too well with the potatoes. So they started building these walls. You couldn't waste wood on wood fencing, so you made stone fencing. And there's about 300 miles of these stone walls crisscrossing the island. And if you could look at an old picture of the island, you know, up until the 1950s or maybe even a little later, it would look like just shorn, rolling farm fields.
And not a tree in sight.
No tree, no shrub, no bayberry, no shad, no viburnum, none of these invasive species. Just rolling farm fields held in place by this beautiful lacework of stone walls. Wow. This is a common milkweed. Right? It's such a beautiful plant. This is the first one I've seen blooming this year. But this one, if you look at that, that is just a beautiful plant. And that is a host to the monarch caterpillar. And these fields will be filled with one. You can, once you start looking, there's another one there.
So the monarch butterflies and the monarch caterpillars, obviously, do they feed the caterpillars feed exclusively on the milkweed?
Yeah. The monarch caterpillar will land and lay her egg on the underside of the leaf. Then when the egg hatches, the little tiny caterpillar, it's right on its food source. Okay, so this pond is one of our larger ponds on the island, actually. It's the second largest pond on Block Island. So even though we have the 365 smaller ponds, this is a larger one. Most of the ponds are circular. This one, you notice, is sort of elongated. This is what's called a meltwater channel. So water melting off of the glacier carved out this channel.
And what about kettle ponds?
A kettle pond is a smaller, rounder one, and it's formed when a chunk of the glacier falls off and water starts running around it. And as it runs around it, it's carrying sediment and sand and stuff, and it builds up around this solid object. When that ice cube melts, there's a depression because all this debris has built up around it, and that's called a kettle hole. I have always loved nature, and yeah, I grew up on the island. And when people say, well, what did you do? You know, I go, well, you know, you could walk anywhere on Block Island, you didn't have to worry about a thing. And I got interested, and I went away to school and got a degree in biology, and got lucky to start working about 20 years ago for an organization called the Ocean View Foundation. Developed all their nature programming on Block Island, and a few years ago that organization endowed a position for me at the Nature Conservancy.